What is up, my friends? How are we? It is Tuesday night. It is the late night agenda, and as always, you're very welcome along. Lots to go through. We're going to figure out who's lying and who isn't. I don't like to use the word liars, but let's try to figure out who's right and who's wrong. Because the RIO NGUMOHA situation and the potential civil war behind the scenes, well, that's got people debating it. This is Anfield reckon there's nothing to it. Of course, Anfield Watch say something differently, so we'll try to figure it all out tonight. We do have a poll question running in the chat. It might be a confusing one, but I will give it some context in a little bit. The poll question is, would you take Jarrod Bowen for a lowish fee? Yes or no? And I'll explain where that comes from in a moment. It's not just me sitting here again thinking, Jarrod Bowen could do a job, but maybe he could. But we'll get to that. Of course, we'll talk about Marc Guehi. We'll have a little bit on Joel Ordonez as well, as there's been some talk that perhaps he's not ready for a move to a big club. We'll try to figure out what the hell's going to happen against Arsenal on Thursday night. The preview for the Arsenal game is coming out tonight at 10:30. So when we finish up tonight's stream, that prediction will be live. I'm also recording with my good mate Lee Gunner a little bit later on tonight as well, and we'll have that out for you guys tomorrow. I'll be on Lee's channel then for a reaction after the game. As always, I hope that you're all well. I know there's a cold snap coming into the UK, and fingers crossed the game goes ahead on Thursday because there's some snow and wind warnings. We'll keep an eye on that one for you as well. Yeah, that's pretty much where we're at. The preview is out, so do let me know if you've had a chance to watch it and what you think. And of course, any other thoughts. This is your show. Let us know. We must get Enrique, give him whatever he wants. The problem there, Sonder, is, whilst I don't disagree with you, bro, I love Luis Enrique, us giving him whatever he wants probably couldn't compare to what the Qatari owners of Paris Saint-Germain could give him with regards to whatever he wants financially. I would dare say they might have some deeper pockets in that regard. So yeah, like I've mentioned, loads to go through tonight. Really did enjoy last night's stream. One of the most enjoyable ones I've had in ages. So thank you to everyone that came and joined us. All that we ever ask in here is if we disagree, just do it politely. Don't just come in to shit all over people and we'll all be grand. As you seen last night, there was lots of people. We were going back and forth. We were debating different subjects, but it was all done in a respectful manner, and it was one of my most enjoyable in recent memory. So thank you to everybody for that. Right, so look, let's get to the Jarrod Bowen stuff, because you're coming in tonight, you're seeing the poll question and you're thinking, it's happened. It's finally happened. The big man's lost his mind. Craig's lost his mind now when he's talking about Bowen. Well, it isn't just me, but I did think it was an interesting talking point. So I guess let me get to where I'm going with this one, and we'll go from there. So, where are we? Right, not that one. This one. So Ben Foster, speaking on the Fozcast, has said this about Jarrod Bowen. He could honestly play for quite a lot of teams. He could play for Liverpool quite happily, and he would suit Liverpool down to the ground. You'd get 3 or 4 years out of him at the same level and intensity. The reason why he's always with England and he's always selected is because he's a good lad. He does it properly, he works hard, and he's got real quality. Somebody would have him if he left West Ham, and it would make them a better team. I don't care who it is. Now, I've always kind of batted away the Jarrod Bowen question in recent years because he has a long-term contract at West Ham, and I never for 1 second even contemplated the idea that West Ham could maybe get relegated. Now it's looking like that's a genuine possibility for West Ham this season. So it got me thinking about the Jarrod Bowen question. And if West Ham were to get relegated, or, look very likely to, would I take Bowen in at Liverpool for a few years? Yes. Yes, I would. 100%. It would have to be for a reasonable fee, of course. But there's no way that I'd be going out there and dropping 50, 60 million on Jarrod Bowen. But if you could get him in for a reasonable fee, I've said for a long time, I think Jarrod Bowen's a wonderful footballer. During the Jurgen Klopp era, Klopp was always complimenting him, and I said to you guys, I think he'd be a perfect fit for the system under Klopp. And I do still think that he has a lot to give to the game. But it would have to be for a reasonable transfer fee. So I'd be in the yes camp, knowing that you're only going to get maybe 3 or 4 years there. I think it would give us a little bit of relief as well with the likes of the situation with RIO NGUMOHA that we'll come on to talk about tonight in more detail. So it would be a yes from me, but of course with a lowish fee. That said, there does need to be some context to it. So I'm looking forward to seeing how you guys vote on it. And of course, we'll come back in. I asked this question in our WhatsApp and it was overwhelmingly disapproval. In fact, I'll give you the exact numbers of it now. 1 sec, I'll just open up the Anfield Agenda WhatsApp and check in. Right, so it is so far, yeah, very firmly in the no camp. So he said, Ben Foster reckons Jarrod Bowen would be good fit for Liverpool. What do you think? Yes, no, or unsure. And overwhelmingly, with more than, I think, 60 odd percent of the vote, people are saying no. So, again, maybe we'll see that tallied in the poll. But for me, I definitely do think he could do a job. Right, where are we at then? Shano, how are we, Shane? I don't like it, but I'm going to be singing Ollie's at the wheel again. Amen. What can happen is he gets a permanent job again. Is he going to... Are they giving him the job as a caretaker? I'd seen his name was mentioned along with Carrick. Genuinely, I've always said this, Shane. I think Michael Carrick would be a good fit at Manchester United for a whole load of reasons. One, he always comes across as an impressive individual to me whenever I see him speak. We know what a great player he was for Spurs and for United. And I think they could do a lot worse. But Ollie coming back in, if he comes in, and I don't know what the situation is there, mate. I haven't really been paying attention. I know Darren Fletcher is currently in the role, but I don't know, dude. There'd be some banter from me about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer coming back in for sure, but sure, you wouldn't respect me if I didn't. Chiesa out, Bowen in, cheap, and Chiesa don't play, said Sonder. That's, again, mate, kind of where my head is at with the situation. Now, James Pearce and a few others believe that Chiesa is going nowhere. So this piece here that I read, and I believe it came from the Echo, said Federico Chiesa is highly unlikely to leave Liverpool this month, and they say according to Sky Sports News. Napoli and Juventus are both reportedly interested in loaning the Italian international, but have yet to formally approach Liverpool about a move. Liverpool are said to prefer that the player stays, but would be open to a permanent exit. You see, that there tells you everything. They prefer that he stays, but they're open to a sale. Because what they don't want to happen is another Liverpool player going out on loan, and then at the end of that 6 months, Liverpool being stuck with a player who the manager clearly doesn't want, and other clubs are going to now be available on the cheap. And this again all comes down to Arne's, in my opinion, mismanagement of this situation. And I don't think anybody can debate me on this one. The way he's treated Chiesa and the way his career has gone over the last 18 months, it's insane. So if you could move him out, I would move him out without having somebody ready to come in. Now, whether that is Jarrod Bowen, I don't think you're going to get Jarrod Bowen in January, in all honesty, especially with West Ham fighting relegation. But there are players out there that could be gotten in January. So, as an example, this here from Sky said Antoine Semenyo transferred to Manchester City, Bournemouth winger to have medical on Thursday ahead of £65 million move. Antoine Semenyo is edging closer to signing for Manchester City in a deal in principle that was agreed over £65 million release clause. The Bournemouth winger is expected to play against Spurs on Wednesday, live on Sky Sports, which is expected to be his final game for the club, and then he'd go and have his Manchester City medical. We're also going to talk tonight about Manchester City and their interest in Marc Guehi as well. So, do keep an eye on that one. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, just want to talk to you about our sponsors tonight again, Big Up. Come join us on Big Up, or you can play the Anfield Agenda Community Predictions game. Predictions on Big Up is a sweepstakes game where you can win prizes for all our watch-alongs, and there's even a free-to-play option. Choose the Anfield Agenda watch-along and click the predictions game. Pick your answers from the list of yes or no questions. Answer at least 2 questions. Choose your entry amount and decide if you'd like to pay the Power Play or the Flex Play option. In Power Play, you must get every question correct to win your prize. However, in Flex Play, you can still win a prize even if one of your selections loses, assuming you've made at least 3 selections. To come and join us, scan the QR code on screen, download the Big Up iOS app, or go to bigup.com and join us for the Arsenal game. As a thank you, when you come and join Big Up and enter your first predictions game, you'll receive $5 or 500 big bucks as that thank you. That can be used for entry to future prediction games, and I'll be checking our community leaderboard during the game. Come on over and join us. You've got the answers. It's either yes or no. Predictions on Big Up is for over 18s only, and we look forward to making it part of your regular Anfield Agenda match day. And thank you to those who've joined us in recent weeks. The numbers are growing game on game, and it's been great to see a few of you guys come away with some prizes as well. So don't forget, it is as simple as coming across and answering yes or no. Up to you. We hope to see you there. And as I said, we'll have it on Thursday for the Arsenal game and every game remaining this season. Right. Cal said Millie was 29 when he joined, I believe. I don't know what age Jimmy Milner was when he joined. But look, in the past, Liverpool have had a history of bringing in older, experienced players. I mean, let's go back to Gary McAllister. And I know that was a very short-term time at Liverpool, but it was a pivotal time. And if you talk to Steven Gerrard about the impact Gary McAllister had on his development as a midfielder, he will pinpoint that season as being one of the pivotal ones and one of the most important for his development. So there is a possibility of it, but I just think it would have to be for a reasonable fee. Now, I have absolutely no idea if there is a relegation clause in Jarrod Bowen's contract or anything like that. So, it's just something Ben Foster spoke about on his podcast, and I thought it was an interesting talking point to bring up. Craig, I read something today about us putting a loan deal together for Messi. Is there any truth in that? No, there isn't. There's no chance. Absolutely zero, nada, nip. The last thing Messi's going to want to do is tire himself. Messi's going into playing his last ever World Cup now. Messi's just finished the season with Inter Miami. He's not going to want to exhaust himself again. They start back up, I think, in February, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, there's no way that's going to happen, mate. You can safely put that one out of your mind. But while we're talking about the MLS, something interesting did catch my my eye today, and it comes from the former Manchester United chief scout Mick Brown via Football Insider. He said it looks almost certain now that Harvey Elliott will end up in the MLS. The lad has got to be playing football, and it's become very clear that's not going to happen at Aston Villa, despite what he might have hoped when he joined. It's a real shame because he's a very talented player who probably would have been knocking on the door for the England squad if he was playing regularly. Even at Liverpool, he was a fringe player and he was in and out of the team. But now he's not even getting those sort of minutes. A move to the MLS is the only way for that to happen at the moment. So that's his best option. He can go out there for 6 months, focus on just playing, impressing, and assess the situation in the summer. So, a couple of things about that. One, they don't get playing competitively till February, so it's still going to be a while for Elliott there before he starts to get minutes. Two, I'd like to see something different happen. So right now we have a situation where Unai Emery and Aston Villa have admitted that they will not be triggering the clause or the amount of games needed to make Harvey Elliott a permanent Aston Villa player. So we know that that's not going to happen. So in my opinion, the clubs can get together and do two things. Either Liverpool can cancel the obligation for Aston Villa to buy Harvey Elliott, meaning that, if there's an understanding with Emery that he is going to get more game time, then of course you're not going to guarantee that he's going to play week in or week out. But if you remove the fear for Emery and Villa of having to complete that purchase, then that is one way out of this. The other way, of course, is coming to an agreement with Aston Villa to cancel the loan agreement and the obligation and send them back to Liverpool. Now, that might not be as simple as it sounds because, of course, Aston Villa could have paid a loan fee, which I'm sure they most likely did. And then there's the wages to talk about. But I would dare say if we sat down now as Liverpool fans and had a chat about could we do with somebody like Harvey Elliott in the squad, I think most of us would probably say yes. Fair enough, he might not be Arne's first choice. Fair enough, he might not be playing every single week. But we've already seen our benches recently have been full of young players who we're going to talk about tonight, whether the manager really brings them through or not. So for me, there are two options, two realistic options. The MLS, that would just feel sad for everybody. Genuinely, he's such a young kid. It would feel like everyone's abandoned him at that point for me. So I would like to see Liverpool and Villa get together and have a proper conversation about what's best for Harvey Elliott, because I do think Liverpool, as his parent club, has a duty of care. And we explained the situation previously as to why it has gone the direction it has at Aston Villa. Monchi was the player who brought in the likes of Jadon Sancho and Elliott. There was a disagreement between Monchi and their current coach, Unai Emery. Maybe Emery didn't know about the clause that was coming in about how many games Elliott played before that clause was triggered that they had to buy him. He's since left the club with the slow start of the season Villa had, and now it's Unai Emery there with a different sporting director. So surely common sense has to prevail here, and the two clubs can get together and figure it out, because it is really unfair on a young player like Harvey Elliott who just wants to go and play football. And I think we can certainly offer him the minutes, whether Arne trusts him or not. I mean, he'd be an idiot not to if it was an option. And of course, if Liverpool are serious about, looking after Elliott, well, then give him minutes at Villa. Maybe cancel the obligation, because at worst, if he plays for Villa between now and the end of the season, his value is surely at least going to be protected, if not maybe rise if he has a big impact. So they're the way I think we should be talking about these situations and looking at it, and not sending them to the MLS. That just doesn't feel right to me. Cosmic Red said, Craig, I agree. We have a duty of care to Elliott. Don't think he offers us anything extra, though. That's fair. That's fair, mate. Look, we can agree to disagree on whether we think Elliott would have an impact or not. That is a personal choice. I've no problem with you on that one. And I think, in all honesty, dude, the manager would probably be on your side of that conversation. I just think if we look at recent Liverpool benches and, the load on our players and the minutes and the injuries that are piling up, we could do a lot worse than having Harvey there as an option. But your point is a fair one as well. And at least we both agree that the club has a duty of care there, that we should be looking after him a little bit better. Right. Paddy Wacker said, Craig, here's a poll. Would we love to see Harvey Elliott back at our club? I personally do. I think Elliott is underrated. He just needs time and experience, the bigger lads at our club. But the real question, though, mate, and I think the gentleman before you touched on it, there's no good us bringing him back if the manager isn't going to play him. And don't forget, that is why he moved on. Because he was getting some minutes at Liverpool, but not enough to convince the manager that he was going to be part of his plans moving forward. So I guess the question there is the manager going to still be around to see Harvey Elliott develop if he stays at Liverpool or not? I don't know on that one. I want to talk about the article we covered very late last night from Anfield Watch in a moment, because you can again see a split in the way this has been portrayed in the media and the he said, she said kind of stuff. So I'm going to go through that in a minute. But until then, look, I would rather see Elliott playing football than just sitting on a bench. And I think, personally, we could use him because the manager won't play Chiesa. He isn't giving RIO and NGUMOHA minutes. And that's where one of my real gripes with one of the articles today from Jack Lusby is. So let me read through this for you, and I'll try to explain. So, there's a disagreement. So Jack Lusby, who writes for This Is Anfield, has said this. Liverpool are baffled by today's claims of a civil war. Hope we see a lot more of RIO and NGUMOHA this season, but Arne Slot is right that no player aged 17 or under has clocked more minutes in all competitions. See, I think that's unfair, and that's a bit of a false equivalency, but I'll move on to that in a minute. However, This Is Anfield understands sources close to the situation are baffled by these reports. It can certainly be argued that NGUMOHA has not been used as many expected following his outstanding run of form throughout pre-season. This whole idea of trying to use the argument that RIO NGUMOHA has seen more minutes than any other 17-year-old, to me it's a flawed argument for a few reasons. One, there needs to be more context to any of these discussions. And what we got and what we know as Liverpool fans is we did not replace Luis Diaz. We know the club sold Luis Diaz, and we know that we were told that the club didn't want to block the pathway for RIO NGUMOHA. So you would imagine that the thought process inside the club is that this kid is destined for the top. And I've seen numerous players over the years come through and get minutes. And I think this, I would call it, as someone labelled it me the other night, a straw man argument and a cherry-picked bit of data to say he's had more minutes than any other 17-year-old. So what? He's still not getting enough. And he's still not being developed enough. And ultimately, that's, I think, a failure of the manager. Now, another piece here, which I'm going to go through kind of a bit more from Anfield Watch's piece last night. Again, credit to Ben Spochak, and again, we do ask you to give the article a full read to make up your own mind. The club hierarchy has made it clear they expect academy players to be integrated into the first team setup. Slot insists he needs players for the here and now and has little interest in working with the club's academy stars, nor to try and develop them. It's a stark contrast to Jurgen Klopp. It's created a civil war within the walls of the AXA Training Centre. Liverpool's here's a by the way, if this is true, what I'm about to read out, then I'm disgusted by it. Absolutely disgusted. But let me read it out first. Liverpool's academy staff and hierarchy have made numerous attempts to try to get Slot more involved with the younger players. Anfield Watch understands the club tried to coordinate under-21 sessions to take place simultaneously with the first team, and last month the club organised an academy showcase designed for Slot and his coaching staff to have a look at the best talents in the academy. That sounds like a really good idea, right? Have the coordinated training sessions alongside first team sessions, put on a showcase of talent so that Arne Slot and his coaching team can come across and have a look at the young up-and-coming players through Liverpool's academy. Goes on to say, Anfield Watch, however, understands that while some of the coaches were present, Arne Slot did not attend the showcase. Now, that's poor form. I'm sorry, but it just fucking is. It's poor form. If they're putting on a showcase of talent of younger players, and some of your coaches are there, the very least Arne can do is trudge across and have a look and have a chat with some of the coaches and have a look at some of the kids. If nothing else, just for confidence, just to see that there is that chance, there is that pathway. Because remember, that's why the AXA was built. It was Jurgen Klopp's vision that the owners backed, that the first team and the younger players can train in the same complex, albeit with somewhat of a divide, but your aspiration is to then go and train with the senior players. They go on to say the hiring Brazilian Luis Fernando Lubel as an individual coach in the summer was also an attempt to compensate for Slot's reluctance to work with younger players. Lubel's role at the moment is concentrated on working with those young players instead of Slot. So, what do you think? Jack Lusby and This Is Anfield seem to think that the club are shocked at this idea of a civil war. We don't know. You know, like Anfield Watch, I'm sure will have their sources. This Is Anfield, I'm sure I have been briefed by the club. But for me as a Liverpool fan, if I sit here and just ask myself, have we seen enough of the younger players? Has Arne developed the younger players? I would say no. But I'll move on to ask you that in a poll question in a while. Now, like I've said, there's some big claims being made here. But if that is true, that the showcase was put on and he couldn't be bothered coming across, then I don't know, lads. That's not great. That isn't great. Because one of the jobs of Liverpool manager is definitely to start to bring through the best of academy talent. Because remember, Liverpool have made a play of going out there to try to bring in the best young footballers from up and down the UK to the academy to then save the money in the longer term. And to do that, you've got to have that philosophy where they're put into the first team setup. Though there'll be arguments that many of the Liverpool benches this season have had some young players on it. But that's no good. They might as well be sitting in the stands with the fans. That's not really giving them any experience. And again, maybe outside of Wellesley Lucky, these are players that had already been given chances under the likes of Jurgen. So here, trainee only is viewed as an important part of Arne Slot's plans, said James Pearce. Really? An important part of the plans? How many minutes has he been given this season? Like, really, how many minutes has he been given? And I'm not talking about garbage minutes. And I really like trainee only. I think he's a really good footballer. I've said it since the first time I seen him out there on the pitch. Looks like he needs to bulk up a bit. Looks like he needs to get a bit stronger. But very good footballer. Sonder said, selling Tyler Morton after rejecting Leverkusen's loan, then not playing him all completely, stalling his development. He's showing him up at Lyon. I really do think Arne's done a shocking job at developing youngsters, but we'll see how you guys feel when we put that to you in a minute. Once we get this current poll to 2,000 votes, we'll ask the question about Arne and the younger players. Do you think he's developing them well enough? We're about 185 votes away at the minute. Right, let's get back into the comments and see how you're all feeling. Steve said Liverpool has and always will be bringing in young talent and sell later. Look, there are a few different ways to look at young talent coming into academies. You can have the Chelsea model where you've got sister clubs and feeder clubs maybe where you send these young talented players out, and can even work with coaches as we're seeing now with Lemur Senior as well, who's gone from Strasbourg, which is one of the Blue Co companies, and coming in to manage the first team at Chelsea. And then you've seen Chelsea bring in a load of players, loan them out around the Premier League in Europe, and then sell them on for big profit. We haven't really seen all that much of that from Liverpool. And to be honest with you, here's a question, and this is a genuine question and not a knock because I don't know the answer. Can you think of many Liverpool loans that have worked out well for us? That we've either brought a player back in who's then added to the first team, or we've made a fortune on? I mean, we've done well to sell the likes of Ben Doak, I guess. And in the past, there were some other players. But recently, I can't really think of too many. Like Kwanzaa was brought through, thrown under the bus in the first game of the season, then sold. We got a decent fee there, but there's a buyback clause in it. So it'll be interesting to see if that's happened. I can't really think of two more. Like, yeah. Bradley, of course, yeah. Bradley's one. Bradley's coming back in and doing really well. And yeah, but Harvey, would you say that's been a good loan spell for Harvey Elliott? That's increased his value or pushed them on? I would argue probably not. Yeah, that's kind of slim pickings there for me. Yaros maybe from the goalkeeper in front, maybe Miroslav Yaros, maybe on him perhaps. Wilson. I can't. Do you know what? I'm going to be honest with you. I can't remember what we got for Harry Wilson at the time. I remember that period of him and Ryan Kent. There seemed to be just loans everywhere, and I actually don't remember what we got for Harry Wilson. But you know, even at Fulham, he's been kind of a bit part player, and this season he's really gone through a bit of a renaissance there at Fulham and doing really well. Elliott went at Blackburn under Klopp. That's a decent point, but that's a fair point. Elliott at Blackburn, he was loved there by the Blackburn fans and did really well. But he still hasn't made it at Liverpool, has he? He's still come back and under a new coach then has been shipped out, and that loan isn't working out either. Grim Reaper said Craig Slot saw the money that was sitting in the bank and spent it on the flashiest names in world football right now. He's completely forgotten the Liverpool way to develop youngsters in the first team. Carvalho did not. We're not just naming players we've loaned out here. I'm saying ones that have worked and we've actually made lots of money on. Carvalho I wouldn't call a success, although maybe we turned a small profit, but I wouldn't call it a huge success. And to get back to the Grim Reaper question about the money, this is kind of where I will defend the manager a little bit, to be honest. And you probably aren't expecting me to say that, but there was a good debate last night on Sky Sports back pages, and it was David Ornstein, and it was who was the other journalist that was Miguel Delaney, and they were talking about the role of sporting directors and how they've almost split the managerial roles in half now from the old days, where you've got, you know, the Sir Alex Fergusons, maybe the Jurgen Klopps, the Guardiolas that would have more of a say over the overall running of the club, whereas now it's a head coach and a sporting director. So they split the roles in half, where the head coach obviously looks after the footballing side of things on a coaching basis, picks the teams. But you've got the sporting director, who, as I've explained before, is responsible for the footballing philosophy at the clubs from the underage levels right through, but is also responsible for recruitment. And the argument and the question was, should sporting directors now be spending more time in front of the microphones? And the definitive answer was yes, they should. Now look, to be fair, we've all talked about this for quite a while on here. It is weird that you've got managers like Arne or others answering questions that really aren't theirs to answer. Like, Arne can't tell you about the club's accounts. Arne can't tell you about what way the club are considering bringing or not bringing a player. That's on Richard Hughes. So sometimes I do have a little bit of sympathy for managers, not just Arne, but others, who are answering questions that really aren't theirs to answer. So I do think more of the European model, because we've gone to a European model in some ways, but much like the situation with VAR, the Premier League have kind of done it in their own way, which is where we're still not putting out the sporting directors in front of the camera, in front of microphones and getting them to answer these questions, which they should be because they're responsible for a lot of the answers. This one. If you were to tell him to show up in Dubai, my God, he'd run for it. Also, same if you were to show him that he can have a go as a DJ in Ibiza, said FC Pitchside. I'm still annoyed by that October break, by the way. Even though I'm sure it was something that was pre-planned, and people have tried to defend it by saying, we could do the same work over there with a laptop, blah, blah, blah. I don't agree with that. I still think he should have been trying to focus on getting Liverpool back and working at the AXA with his coaches rather than over in Dubai. And look, the proof of the pudding was in the eating. We came back and we lost to United after that international break, and we went into it on the back of 3 defeats as well. Sonder said Barca showing what academy players can become. Yes, with the right academy. Look, it's difficult, and I will admit it's difficult because you've got to strike the balance between keeping results as they should be and as they need to be, because managers, at a club like Liverpool, have to get Champions League football, have to be challenging for trophies. So it's a difficult balancing act, but he's thrown away some of those chances by jibbing off the likes of the League Cup. And that's what winds me up. He kind of wants his cake and he wants to eat it, but he's thrown the cake out the door. Right, so we've got enough answers in this poll. Would you take Jarrod Bowen at a lowish fee? 60% have said yes, 40% have said no. And thank you to everyone that took time to vote in the poll. Really appreciate it. Let's go on to the manager one now. So, is Slot doing enough to bring young players through? So, is Slot doing enough to bring young players through? Yes or no? And we'll come back and revisit that one in a little bit. David Sultana. I thought you were talking about me at first, bro. I read the first line and I was like, oh, don't tell me I'm about to fall out with David. I like David. I've had enough of this clown. Well, Klopp brought us together. Slot is dividing us. It isn't right. We need to come together. What do you think? These are always really difficult because, when I adjust myself in my seat, I'm about to get serious, David. These are always difficult because what we have in here at Anfield Agenda is a small snapshot of a small section of the Liverpool fan base. But what's difficult for me to gauge when we're in here having these type of conversations is there an attraction to a specific type of fan to our content that is a similar mindset to myself? Or do we have people of all walks of life with all different views? So when we do a poll or we conduct a question, it's very difficult to know how much of it is, maybe informed by my own opinions or the narratives or the directions that we're pushing in the channel. So for me, I would say right now, at a guess, 70 to 80% of Liverpool fans are unhappy with the manager. And I would say a higher percentage, maybe into the 90s, are unhappy with the way we play, the brand, the style, the identity. But of course, I don't think there is any definitive way to answer this, because whoever answers it, if you targeted season ticket holders and answered them, well, you're getting an inside Anfield view. If you're targeting fans from around the world, you're getting a different type of view. So all I can really work off is my own community, and yeah. Craig adjusts his seat, either getting serious or farting. Same here. No, for the farting one, you'll see one or two things. You'll either see me doing this really quickly, watch my hand, which is just muting the microphone for a second, or a little lean. A little lean's usually the one, though, to be honest, dude. That's usually the sign. But to get back to your question, David, I've had enough as well, mate. I keep saying this, but everything now just feels like hard work and a slog. Every Liverpool fan, they're not... No, excuse me, I've no right to say every Liverpool fan. A lot of Liverpool fans that I interact with anyway, are feeling a bit distant at the minute, and they're not feeling as connected to the club because they just don't enjoy what we're seeing. They don't enjoy the style. They don't enjoy the narrative around the team. They don't enjoy so many things. Like how, like I still want to know how we got from here in the summer. Transfer window that we were all incredibly happy with. Ambitions for the season ahead. That we were going to challenge and hopefully try to defend the league title. To now here where we're all trying to figure it out together, and that sometimes leads to divisions within our own fan base. Sometimes leads to tempers fraying and, people like me shouting, people like you coming back, and nobody benefits with that. Look, mate, I can only ever give my opinion, and my opinion is he's just not good enough for the job. He's just not good enough for the fucking job. It's that simple. And I'm not seeing it getting better. Even though I was optimistic of Liverpool supportive outlets are saying things like it's a 9-game unbeaten run, but it's a very unconvincing unbeaten run. Bradley Warren, how are you, Bradley? Said, for me, Gerrard as interim, then Ancelotti in the summer. Thoughts? I think Ancelotti isn't the right guy for us now, at this point in his managerial career. And also he's the Brazilian national team coach, which probably suits the level of life for Ancelotti right now, right? So, he gets to taper back his work a little bit, gets to live in Brazil in a nice climate, work with footballers on a less intense level as an international manager would. So, no, I wouldn't say right now. I would have been more than happy, when it was Klopp or Ancelotti back in the day when Jurgen became manager. I'd sit here and say either of those two answers would have made me happy. Jurgen was the happier answer, and that was the one that came through. But not right now. I think his hands-off style of management in kind of just leaving players to it and trusting that they'll do the right things isn't really what we need now. But Gerrard in the interim, look, I've said this loads of times, this is one that gets people excited and frustrated, because people think when you say Gerrard in the interim that you've any ideas for him longer term. I wouldn't. And I wouldn't care if Gerrard won us the Champions League. I still wouldn't want him as Liverpool's manager full time. But if you give me the question, which is one of the topics we deal with every night on here, is it worth hanging on to Arne just because the ideal guy isn't around? No, it isn't. Not for me, because I think more damage can be done. And it is unfathomable and unthinkable to Liverpool that we don't get Champions League football. Now, you don't have to think too far ahead. We're playing Arsenal on Thursday. If we lose that game and Chelsea win their game, or United win their game, we're already outside. It's that simple. And this is us coming through a 9-game unbeaten run at the easiest part of the season. And we're already right on the periphery of falling outside that top 4 again. And look, I don't think it's been defeatist to say there's every possibility we might lose at Arsenal's gaff on Thursday. So I just think more damage will be done. I think the goodwill in the fan base will be minuscule. And I just think getting rid of him is the right way. I don't see the upside to keeping him, because the upside to keeping him is that you think he can turn it round or the right guy isn't ready. And either of those are the wrong ones for me. I can't see him turning it round. And if the right guy isn't ready, I can accept that. But get in somebody who at least puts a bit of fire, a little bit of ambition, a little bit of life into the squad again. Tobias, how are you, sir? Lovely to see you, and thank you for being with us for 22 months, my friend. A happy new year to you as well, Tobias. I don't know if we've spoken since the new year's kicked off. Do you think we'll lose out on Marc Guehi to Man City? It's a really good question, bro. And I fear we may, because I don't know if Liverpool will move to pay money this month for Marc Guehi. And I was reading a piece from David Ornstein that said Manchester City hold a strong and concrete interest in Marc Guehi. The move is driven by Gvardiol's broken leg that will rule him out for 4 to 5 months. City are by no means Crystal Palace captain's only suitor, but whereas most teams plan to compete for a signing as a free agent in the summer, Pep Guardiola's side are weighing up whether to sign him in January. Now, all I know is that we're sitting here as Liverpool fans now, and it's Tuesday the 6th of January, and we still haven't got a centre-back in. And we still haven't sorted out Canade's situation. And we still look like a shit show at the back. That's all we know as a fact. So after that, it's just we're gonna have to wait and see. The fact that Crystal Palace are seemingly looking for more than 35 million, that baffles me, by the way. That really does baffle me. Paddy Wacker said, you can hear a pin drop at Anfield. I'm now afraid to watch the game on Thursday. Yeah, look, Thursday, I don't think it's going to be a bloodbath on Thursday. I know a lot of people think that this could go very, very, very sideways, and that is a possibility. But I think professional pride and the fact that it is a big game, I think our players will put up a better effort than we've seen recently. The preview is coming out at 10:30. I'm not going to tell you what way I went with it. But I just don't think it's going to be a hockeying. I don't think we're going to be beaten 3-0, 4-0, 4-1. But is it possible? Yes. Unfortunately, it is possible. Because if the Liverpool show up that we've seen play against Leeds, that we've seen play against Sunderland and teams like that, Arsenal could put us to the sword. They have the talent to do it. They could. And of course, they're also 14 points clear of us and absolutely flying. I was doing the prediction. The way as part of our predictions, we go through teams' form coming into the game. Well, Arsenal's is just W, 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 W. So, yeah, tough one there. And also, on the Marc Guehi situation, there was another bit of interesting news that comes out of, I believe, a French outlet. Credit Anfield Edition for this post on X. They say at Phil Sport, which is at FIL Sport, Liverpool are closely monitoring Toulouse centre-back Charlie Cresswell, who's valued at around 22 million. Now look, Charlie Cresswell is a name that had been linked with Liverpool for a while. I know he was at Leeds, I think, for a couple of years. Then he went somewhere else and ended up at Toulouse. So I don't really know if he's going to be good enough or not. But I am somewhat relieved that at least we're starting to be linked with some centre-backs now. But I'm also getting angrier as each day goes by and we're not signing one. And I'm not talking about frustrated. I mean pissed off, bluntly angry. Because I think it's a dereliction of duty that we don't have another centre-back brought in now. Whatever way you look at it, it wasn't anybody but us that messed up. Yes, you can say Palace pulled the plug on the Marc Guehi deal at the end, but my answer will be, why did we leave it so late? You can say we were unlucky, but we've also had time between then and now to assess the situation, and we've known for quite a long time as well that Giovanni Leone's out for the remainder of the season, as well as Canade's forms all over the place, and he still hasn't committed to a new deal, so we don't know where his head's at. So nothing about the centre-back situation is filling me full of confidence at the minute, and I'm pretty fucking angry about it. Because it's the one position I would say is undebatable that we need to bring somebody in right now. And there's no excuse to not do it. Manchester City are out there showing that you can bring in players in January if you need to. The Semenyo deal, we knew what the situation was. We weren't willing to do it. Okay, they are. Now with the Marc Guehi situation, you can say they've been unlucky with Gvardiol breaking his leg for 4 or 5 months. Well, not only do we have a player who's been out all season, but we also have a centre-back underperforming and whose future might not be at the club anyway. So it just makes me really, really angry. And I don't know where that anger should be directed. I don't know if it should be directed at Hughes, Edwards, Slot, all of them. I don't know. Peter said, one positive thing to keep in mind for the Arsenal game is that we only have 5 defeats away this season in all comps. 4 in the league. We also used proper shift against the bigger teams. Yes, that I agree with. That's why I said, Peter, I don't think it's going to be a massacre. I think it's going to be... Look, I'm going to say it. I predicted we lose. I'm not going to give you the scoreline, but my prediction, I predicted we lose the game. And it may be the third time in 7 years that I've said that. Because I don't know how I can sit here with a good conscience and talk about even a draw being something that I'm expecting from the game. I'm expecting to lose it. And I don't think I'm on my own expecting to lose the game against Arsenal. Because what right-minded person could feel confident in going there? The point Peter's made about us up on our levels, that's very fair. The last game was a coin toss between the two of us, and it took a wonderful strike from Dominic Szoboszlai. But Arsenal came and tried to have a bit of a resolute stalemate side to them there. I don't think we have the capability in us to be as resolute and rigid and frustrate Arsenal in the same way as they may be able to. So I don't think that style will work for us there. So this is why I have no confidence going into this game at all. And it kills me to say that. But that's what this manager has done to my my goodwill and my ambition at the minute. Is I can't sit here with a clear conscience and say I think we're going to win the game. I don't. There's not even 5% of me thinks we win the game. Did you see that Luis Enrique has rejected PSG? No, I haven't. God, I'd love a little bit of extra information on that one. If somebody can send it on to me about why maybe, because there was talk there that, they'd even installed a big screen on the training ground at Paris Saint-Germain, so, he could show players clips in real time and walk them back through what they're doing wrong and what he wants them to do. Obviously, he's delivered them a European Cup. But as with any manager, he is a family man. He has a wife. He has to think about, what's best for his future and his career. How long he wants to stay in Paris, I couldn't tell you. Does he want to spell in the Premier League? Well, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. I'd love him. I think he'd be brilliant. And I think the club would love him. And I think if he was available in a heartbeat, the club would try to make it happen. But we'll have to wait and see, like I said, on those reports and where they come from. Tino, thank you very much, my friend. Appreciate you. Slot won't play Rio or Trey and sold half the Klopp's kids that won the League Cup like Bobby Clark. He doesn't have the skills to develop players. I just keep coming back to the Luis Diaz situation, Andrew. You and I didn't say that we weren't replacing Diaz because of RIO and NGUMOHA. That was put out there by the club. Maybe with the best of intentions from Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards. And maybe it is Arne that's decided he's not ready to play and that he wanted the likes of a Bradley Barcola. I don't know the realistic answer to that. But what I do know is he hasn't gotten enough minutes. I'm not buying this bullshit argument that he's had the most minutes of any 17-year-old in the Prem, because I think it's a stupid argument and it's a cherry-pick bit of data. But what I know is, I remember when he came on against Newcastle, and I remember the composure he showed, and the goal that he scored. I remember in pre-season he had 5 goal contributions and he looked really exciting. So where the fuck is all that gone? Why all of a sudden now are we back to the club being confused as to why people are talking about Rio not getting minutes and that there's a civil war behind the scenes? It's not very hard to believe that there is frustration behind the scenes at why RIO and NGUMOHA, who the club fought really hard for to get out of Chelsea and convinced to come, and didn't replace Diaz, why he's not getting minutes. And the manager's then talking about injuries and moaning about fatigue when he's ignoring Chiesa and NGUMOHA. So, I don't think it takes too much of a leap of faith to think that, maybe there is something to it. Tanzaloik has said Bradley Barcola will be a real topic next summer to leave Paris Saint-Germain. Whether he comes to Liverpool or not remains to be seen. We know we've had strong links to Barcola for a while now. The argument has been that Liverpool may look at Bradley Barcola and see a similar situation like Ugo Ekitike, where they feel like, yes, there's talent there, but yes, he's still underperforming his XG, and maybe we can turn that around. Right now, as a Liverpool fan, I can't lie to you, lads. Every day I get up, I'm looking at my phone hoping he's gone. Every day. I look at my phone and I hope that the club have seen sense and realise that this isn't going in the right direction. But the longer this goes on, I think the more goodwill is going to be gone and the more frustration the fan base is going to feel with each other, with the situation. And I can't for 1 second believe that as an ownership group that I have screamed at to back managers over the years. I promised you when they spent money, I wasn't going to start calling them out on it, and I haven't. But I can't believe that an ownership group that have overseen that spending are happy with this or expected this to be the way the season pans out. I know the excuse makers that write the column inches that want to just say everything supportive of the club would have us believe that this is an expected thing. The fuck it is an expected thing. That wasn't the narrative in the summer. Don't take us all for idiots again. If you want to go through and talk about it, we moved out Costas and we brought in Kirkes. That's not weakening us. We lost Trent, fair enough, we can't do anything about that. We brought in Frimpong. We lost Diogo tragically and we sold Darwin, who we all knew was going to be sold. We brought in British transfer record Alexander Isak and Hugo Ekitike for 70-something million quid. We moved on Harvey Elliott, who wasn't getting any game time. We brought in Florian Wirtz. How am I supposed to sit here and feel like this was expected or that this was okay? Because whichever way you dress this up, the majority of the team is still here. So whether you talk about Wirtz taking time to settle in, Frimpong taking time, Bradley was already at the club. Szoboszlai was at the club. Maka was at the club. Robbo's at the club. Van Dijk's at the club. Salah's at the club. Alisson's at the club. Gakpo's at the club. These are all players who were already here. So any belief system that thinks that this was an obvious and very foreseeable drop in form, I would call bullshit on. I'm not having it. Because we improved every single position that I've just spoken about there. Kelleher went and we brought in Mamadashvili. Now, there's still a debate on whether that's a good or a bad thing, whether one's better than the other. We'll find out over time. But what we failed to talk about is the real elephant in the room. Is that, yes, while we did a lot of improving one-for-ones, did we really build out the depth of the squad? No. We moved on a lot of fringe players. We moved on the likes of Tyler Morton. We moved on the likes of Jarell Kwanzaa. And somewhat replaced them. In Kwanzaa's case, yes, with Giovanni Leone. But we haven't replaced Joel Matip. We still don't have a defensive midfielder that any of us think is the right one for the position. So again, I just think anyone that's trying to say this is expected is just having us on. Thoughts on Thiago as a coach? Similar to Xavi/Fab. Look, he's not ready to come in and be a Liverpool first team coach now, but could I see Thiago having something to give to the footballing world as a coach? Absolutely. Absolutely. I think, and he's already done some stuff with Barca and Hansi Flick. And I think he will have a future in coaching because, he's got a brilliant football mind. But not for us just yet. I wouldn't think it'd be a good show. So someone said give Slot time. Sorry for me, that's a very long username that I'm not going to try to pronounce because I don't want to get it wrong. But, rather than just say give Slot time, why do you think he deserves the time? And do you not think he's had time? He's at the club 18 months now. He's not at the club 6. He's not just in the door. And we've gone backwards. We've won a league and then gone backwards. And again, I think the league title last year has covered over a lot of frailties and a lot of falsehoods that were there. Remember, lost League Cup final, played off the park, outfought and out-thought by Newcastle. Lost to Plymouth Argyle in the FA Cup. We're playing at a walking pace at the end of the league, even though we'd won it. People thought that was okay to switch off mentally and go and party and do all that other stuff. And we got knocked out in the first knockout round of the Champions League. So none of that to me, mate, coupled with the start of this season and the worst run in Liverpool's history and the worst amount of losses in the calendar year of any Liverpool manager, I don't see how he's earned more time. So for me, respectfully, I think he's had more than enough time. And I think any other club would have sacked him by now. Look at what's happened at United this week. Look at what's happened at Chelsea. Now, I know that people will say we don't want to become the next United. But my argument yesterday that I put across was, well, we've already gotten past that hurdle because we've won a league title since Klopp left. So, and Arne will always get his praise for that league title win. But he's failed miserably over and over again And this season, it's not getting better. It just isn't getting better. And even the people that are trying to put a positive spin on it are rightly saying that they don't know what our identity and our style is. David said, we don't have a style, we're just boring. I'm sorry. Well, we are boring. You're right, we are boring. I can't argue back against that, mate. And I don't know many people that could. I definitely would agree with you that we're boring. So, really quickly, I just want to show you something. So, we talked about Big Up and how we'd love you to come along and play the predictions game with us. And remember, it is 18s plus. But this is what you'll be met with for this week. So, if you come across to join the predictions game for the Arsenal match, these are the 7 questions that you will have to choose yes or no from. Victor Gyökeres will score a goal or have an assist. Yes or no. Martin Odegaard will score a goal or give an assist. Yes or no. Arsenal will lead at half-time. Again, yes or no. There will be over 4 cards in the match. Yes or no. Gabriel Martinelli will score a goal or give an assist. Yes or no. Conor Bradley will get a yellow card. Yes or no. And there will be over 2 goals in the match. Yes or no. You need to pick a minimum of 2 of those selections, and you can pick all of them if you'd so wish. And again, if you'd like to play the flex play entry where you can afford to get one of them wrong and still win a prize, you must have 3 selections. But that is the game. That is the predictions game. It is as simple as that. Yes, no questions. Up to you to decide how many you answer. And again, once you play your first predictions game at Big Up, they'll credit you with $5 or 500 big bucks that you can use for future Anfield Agenda prediction entries or to donate to your favourite content creator. Again, it is an over 18s product, and thank you so much for your time. I'm really enjoying watching it, by the way. I always have it on in the background when we're doing the watch-alongs. I always have the leaderboard, which you see there in each and every one of the predictions games. And I always keep an eye on who's doing well and who isn't. And I love to see the numbers going up and the positive for people. So well done to anyone that has won prizes so far. Paddy Wacker said, Craig, a personal question. Is your uncle buried close to you? I sent an email, but it must have got missed. I'd really love to send you cash to buy something for the studio to remind you of your uncle. So Connor, as I've said before, mate, goes through the emails and sends on or not on things to me. My uncle was cremated. So, and is it close to me, is it close to me in distance-wise? No. I'm probably 100 kilometres away. And with regards to something to remember him by for the studio, that's a very, very kind thing, mate. But honestly, I have more than enough memories of my uncle and my godfather to hold them close to my heart. So you're such a beautiful soul for thinking of me, mate, like that. But honestly, if you'd like to do something in his memory or, to help out, I'd love you to make a donation to the GoFundMe for Adam here. As you know, we're trying to help him to get over to defend his European MMA title. And if you could make a small donation to his GoFundMe, that would mean the world to me, because I'm really, really trying my best to help him raise that money. And we're about €1,200 short of the 3,500 we need. So yeah, but again, man, what a beautiful, beautiful thing to send across. And thank you so much. I'm the type of person, though, and I think everyone's different on this one. I can't be doing with graveyards and all, lads. Like, I don't want to go into the situation in too much detail, but I can't even visit my own mother and father's grave. And it's not because I'm physically not able to. I'm sorry I can't go into why, because I think it'll just open up all wounds. But let's just say, when I go up to look at my mother and father's grave, they're buried together, but they're not on their own. And it breaks my heart. Not that I would be a regular, visitor to a cemetery, but I'm an only child, and my mum and dad are buried in a plot, but there's somebody else in that plot with them that I've had no control over. And it breaks my heart because I hate it happening. It was my mother's second husband. He and his family decided he was going in on top of my mother and father with no consultation to me, no talk about the headstone, nothing. It's just another part of the chain of pain, trauma, and hurt that my family have been caused by them. So I just can't bring myself, man, to go near any cemeteries right at the minute, and that's why I've said to my own wife, when my time passes, um, just burn me and do whatever the fuck you want, fire me into the sky in a firework. I don't want to be a burden on anyone. Um, yeah, like I said, someday I'll talk about this story from start to finish in the right format at the right time. But yeah, at the moment, I can't. I couldn't even bring myself to attend the funeral of my uncle, because December deaths in my family, it's too much. It's been too many. It's been too hard. And even my GP, when my wife was there today or yesterday, my wife told my GP about a passing, and she said not another one in December. It's yeah, man. It's been a tough month, but that's why I love people like you, Paddy Walker, in our community, man, because that little suggestion, the thought process even alone there, mate, means more to me than you'll ever know. So thank you. Bobby said, "Evening, Craig and everyone. How are you today?" It's been a funny day, man. So we had a bit of a blockage in our waste system here, and we didn't know if it was just our house or if it was others. So we had somebody out today to clear out the blockage, and they did, thankfully, and everything's good, because there was literal shit starting to come out at the front of our house. So that's been fixed, thankfully, but it's left. God, there's been an awful bang of shy, an awful bang of shy floating around the area of the house today. That's taken a bit of getting used to, but yeah, thankfully that's sorted as well. And the damnedest of things, like, it was a big black stone about that size that was, well, maybe about that size, that was blocking it, and it could have been there for years, because no black stones. We don't have black stones like of that size anywhere. So don't know how it even got into the drainage system, but yeah, today was a weird day because it was Connor's revenge. Oh, Paul, I messaged to Paul and I said, "You fucking jinxed me, mate," because Connor had a situation the other day. Connor lives out in the countryside, so he would have like a septic tank and stuff like that. Mine just works off the normal drainage system, but yeah, I think he jinxed me when I was slagging him about that the other day. Stevie Boy said, "Is there any chance we see Gravenberch and Dom with Wirtz as the 10 and play RIO and Chiesa on the wings? Get rid of Maka." So, for this game, I've actually, in my predicted 11, dropped Gravenberch. I know, you're probably looking at me now going, what? I think during this season, Stevie Boy, we've had our discussions and held players to responsibility. So we've talked about Soboslai being good. We've talked about Maka dropping off. We've talked about Jones and people's division there. But I do think one person that's kind of gotten away without being held to account has been Gravenberch. Now, I'm not saying Gravenberch is terrible by any stretch, but we're way too open in the middle of the park. And even if it is under license from Arne to get forward, I just think we need to try something new. And in a game like this, I've gone with something different. So it'll all come clear at 10:30 when the preview's out. But let me know if you watch it and what you think. With regards to Chiesa on the wings, we're wasting our time talking about it, mate. Because he ain't going to play him. I know he ain't going to play him. So, yeah. Could we do it, though? Yes. Could we use RIO on one wing? Yes, of course we could. But will Arne do it? No. Fans play academy kids and ask for senior signings. Play seniors and they want academy players. Lose either way. The manager gets blamed. Look, I've always had a lot of sympathy, George, on any Liverpool manager with regard to youthful players or not. The reason why I'm so outspoken and find it so egregious about RIO NGUMOHA is that there's no secret to how good this kid is. It's not like fans are screaming for any old youth player. We're talking about one that was hyped up so much that wasn't given any chances after a good pre-season to push on and kick on from the loss of Luis Diaz on that left side. So for this particular one, I do think Arne should be held to account for it because he's underutilised them a lot. But yes, in general, mate, what you've said, it's tough. But that's why you want to go deeper into the domestic cup competitions. And that's why, again, I said him throwing away the League Cup game was all kinds of ridiculous. No problem putting young, inexperienced players in the starting 11, but you got to have some big hitters on the bench. And he didn't that day. And I think, what has that done to the confidence as well of some of those younger players getting put to the sword like they were? So that just annoyed me even more. And I think I always say to you that there is a way of rescue in any situation, that it can be won back around. As I sit here today, I think I'm so angry with Arne, I'm so blinded with rage, and I'm so frustrated that he'd probably have to solve world hunger for me to be won back around now. That's how forceful I am that he should be gone. And it's horrible because I know it can come across as toxic and I know it can come across as negative, but I've only ever promised you one thing, and that is that I'm not going to sit here and lie. Brad said, week in, week out, always low block excuses, or we're going to try our best interviews, not to mention Anfield isn't considered a fortress no more. Low block, yes, absolutely. Unlucky is another word that I'm starting to really, really get fed up of hearing, mate. And about how the other team had same amount of chances as we did, but for some reason they're scoring their chances and we're not. And that's just lucky or unlucky. There's been a real lack of accountability for me from him in a lot of these situations. And I think he knows he's not going to be in a job by the end of the season. I think deep down he knows that. Yeah, so that's where my head's at with it, Brad. So, we asked, is Slot doing enough to bring young players through? We'll let it go for we need another 180 odd votes to get it to 2,000. So if you haven't voted, please do. No Bowen, not good enough. So on the Bowen thing, Alan, I don't know if you missed the start of the stream, bro. I'll give you the context of the conversation. Not that I'm saying it's going to change your opinion or not, Alan. You're entitled to that opinion, but I'll give you the context of why we're speaking about it. So Ben Foster on his Fozcast podcast said, speaking about Jarrod Bowen, he could honestly play for a lot of teams. He could play for Liverpool quite happily, and he'd suit Liverpool down to the ground. You get 3 or 4 years out of him at the same level and intensity, and then he goes on to speak about what a good lad he is, how he trains well, does the right things. So I would say, let's say they got relegated. Would I take Jarrod Bowen for 3 or 4 years for a low fee as an option? I would. I really, really would, mate. Yes, I really, really would. I've always been an admirer of him, but I wouldn't pay a big fee for him. Because he is at the tail end of his career. And you are not going to have any sell-on fee at the end of that. So if it meant bringing him in for 3 or 4 years and you got him at a fee that was, and I don't know what the reasonable number would be, but I would take him. I would take him in that circumstance, mate, because I think he's a damn good player. And if you go back 3-4 years, I'd be screaming for us to get him because I loved him. And I thought he was always really suited and perfect for Klopp's system. So for me, it would be yes, but in a specific set of circumstances. Cop Wolf Gaming said, no connection, no passion, comfortably numb. I can't say I'm ever feeling numb about Liverpool, because you can see what football in Liverpool does to me emotionally, but I'm actually starting to feel anger as each day goes by. And as each game comes up, no longer am I looking forward to it because I'm thinking it's another Reds game. We're going to get to see the boys go out there and do their thing. I'm now just have this ball of anxiety in my stomach to think, what the fuck are we going to see this week? How bad might it be? And why is it always such hard work? When's the last time we had a comfortable, I think Frankfurt, was it? It's just a comfortable, straightforward whooping where we looked like we were never in any doubt. It's just becoming more and more hard work to watch the Reds. And that's not us being spoiled as fans. That's because we know deep down that this team is underperforming, and underperforming hugely. True Pro Landscaping said, sorry mate, can I get a quick recap? What have I missed? Yeah, I promise you I'll do a recap, because I'm not doing a late night news video tonight as the preview's coming out. So give me a couple of minutes, bro, and I promise you I will get back and do you a full rundown. Right, are we at the 2,000 yet? Nearly there. Only about 70 more votes to go. And then I want to just ask again about the transfer window, you know, and give me some suggestions for what you think of the transfer window. She shed Frimpong game changer. I think he's been brilliant, mate, in recent games when he's come on. And he's one of the few players we have that does have that pace and ability to go past the man. So yeah, it's been great to see Jeremy back, and he's certainly given us an attacking threat that we've been lacking. One thing I haven't spoken about yet is something about Joel Ordonez that his former coach at Club Brugge has said, and I found it quite interesting, and I wanted to bring it to you guys. So this piece here, Joel Ordonez isn't ready for Liverpool, according to his former Club Brugge coach. The coach said, if Bruges can get 49 million for Ordonez, they should sell him without hesitation. No one in Belgium is worth that much, and Ordonez isn't ready for a club at this level yet. He needs guidance. Interesting take. Interesting take from a former Club Brugge or Club Brugge coach, which I really did find very, very interesting. Ian Doyle of the Echo has given us some information as well about another player that Liverpool have had to recall from a loan spell after an injury setback. So Ian writes, James Balghese has become the third Liverpool player to be recalled from loan during mid-season window after his time at Forest Green Rovers was cut short. Balghese had agreed to spend the campaign on loan at the National League outfit after making the switch in the final week of the summer transfer window. So unfortunately, another loanee who's come back injured. Can I do a super chat to donate to the GoFundMe? See, the problem with that is when someone sends a super chat, let's say, as you've sent one, at £2, the amount of that super chat that eventually finds its way to us will probably be about 130, 140. But look, I've no problem. There have been people that have sent in super chats that I've made anonymous donations then into the GoFundMe. And the fact that you're even, you know, you've even done that, I'll stick a £5 in your name later on, or I'll stick a £5 in as a thank you anonymously later on for you. So thank you, Irfan. But again, if people want to, you can just go straight to it, like I said, by using the link in the description. Right, folks, let's keep going. Solo P1, the YouTube channel stuff on Enrique. Thank you. That really is helpful, David. I will try to have a little delve into that later on. Would you believe, lads, I was still up at 4:45 this morning writing notes and working for the streams today, because there's just so much going on, and you're of course trying to get to the bottom of the whole situation with that Anfield Watch piece last night, and you know how much is behind it and how bad things are behind the club at the minute. You know, what's fiction, what's reality. But again, like I said, do look forward to the game on Thursday no matter what, because it is another Liverpool game. And if you do want to come and join us for the predictions, like I said, let me just read this out to you one more time before we finish up. With the ad read, I should say. Come join us on Big Up, where you can play the Anfield Agenda community predictions game. Predictions on Big Up is a sweepstakes game where you can win prizes for all of our watch-alongs, and there's even a free-to-play option. Choose the Anfield Agenda watch-along and click the predictions game. Pick your answers from the list of yes or no questions. Answer at least 2 questions. Choose your entry amount and decide if you'd like to join with the power play or the flex play option. In power play, you must get every answer correct to win a prize. In flex play, though, you'll still win a prize even if one of your selections is wrong, as long as you've made a minimum of 3 selections. To come and join us, scan the QR code on screen, download the Big Up iOS app, or go to bigup.com and join us for the Arsenal game. As a thank you, when you sign up and play your first predictions game on Big Up, you'll receive $5 or 500 big bucks, which is the Big Up currency. They can be used for entry into future competitions and games, or to donate to your favourite content creator. Come over and join us. You've got the answers. It's either yes or no. Up to you how good you think you are. And if you want to come along and play with us, you do need to be aged 18 or over. And like I said, thank you so much to you guys for those who've taken part so far. We really do appreciate your support, and of course the support of our sponsors at Big Up. Right, let's get cracking. I don't rate Chiesa, but why not just sell him? So that's the $64,000 question. I think I can understand if people rate or don't rate Chiesa. That's fair. We all have players we rate or don't rate for different reasons. But what you've said there to me, mate, makes the most sense of all of it. Is he's not getting played. And we've seen so many times now where we've had the option to do it. He didn't even bring him on the preseason tour to Hong Kong and Japan. There's been talk of him leaving in pretty much every transfer window for the last 2 windows. There's more talk of him leaving in this window. So for me, the only argument to not sell him is that nobody will buy him, or that we're just going to be short of numbers, and that's it. Because the numbers argument, I don't think that's a really strong argument. Because right now we've got no centre forward, one centre forward in Ekitike who's coming back from a strain, a centre forward with a broken leg, Salah over at the AFCON, NGUMOHA not getting played, and Chiesa still had 1 game, and then 5 minutes plus stoppage time. So the numbers thing, I don't think it even works. I'd rather sell him and bring Elliott back for the rest of the season and get Arne to give him some minutes. But the key all comes down to is what Arne will do. Because I like him as a man, I like him as a player bullshit, I just don't get it. So I've no problem with someone saying they don't rate Chiesa, but I do agree with you on why not just sell him. Why not just sell him and go out and get somebody who the manager will play? Because what we feel as fans, that's our own opinion, fair enough. But just seeing that we haven't got enough bodies available is frustrating. And then having to hear the manager talk about, unlucky and injuries, and it just drives me demented, mate. And the situation with Chiesa has been going on for too long. He had a whole year of an excuse last year where it was he's been playing catch up, he hasn't quite been fit, blah 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 blah. Then there was the Plymouth Argyle game, and then there was journalists writing even in the last few weeks that he still holds ill feeling towards Chiesa over that Plymouth Argyle game, as if he was the only one that underperformed that day or was responsible for that loss. It's petty, it's pathetic, and it's just not befitting of the situation. And I think he's cutting his nose off to spite his face, and it winds me up. Boxed Will said, easy solution for the Arne problem. Set up a low block outside the house. Won't be able to get through, but he'll still be able to get his favourite excuse. Easy solution is fire him. That's the even easier solution. Just fire him. And then, because look, United have got rid of Amorim, and they don't have a manager ready, but they're willing to bring in somebody as a caretaker. Maresca's been gotten rid of, and Chelsea have gone out there and taken in one of their other coaches from Strasbourg and brought him in. We've seen managers be fired this season for a lot less, but for some reason, there is a queue of excuses as to justify the failures of Arne. And I'm not buying many, if any of them. I think the Forest game was my turning point. That is still angering me to this day. And the unbeaten run of 9 is nonsense, because, again, it's littered with draws from teams we should be beaten. Leeds thrown away again. And Leeds in the LEADS version. And just too many points left on the table. And it keeps talking about, but what about if? Well, we are now past the halfway point. And we are on the fringes of the top 4. And could be out of the top 4 by the end of Thursday night. It's not good enough. So get rid of him. Bring in somebody to put a bit of heart and soul back into the team, and we'll figure out the longer term situation over the course of time. Because, like I said, nobody being immediately available who's the ideal candidate, I don't think is good enough reason to keep somebody who is dividing the fan base at the very least. And again, you heard what people who've been to Anfield lately have said in the comments. It's just like quiet. There's no atmosphere as much as there should be, because there's no excitement, belief. People are just fed up. It's boring. And who wants to say that about our own club? It's boring. But that's what the style of football is to me. Boring. And that's the only word I could use to describe it, because I don't see the philosophy of it. I don't see how it's improving us. I don't see any recollection of the style of football that we had when Jurgen left to now. Like I can't recall how we've managed to drift so far away from that into this meandering bullshit that we watch week in, week out. This slow side to side, hope for moments, passive, emotionless nonsense with lazy defending. And again, I'm not the one saying lazy defending alone. Carragher, former Liverpool player Steve Nicol, others talking about it. We're not defending well enough. We're not playing well enough. We've got no style. And I'm sorry, that's on the manager. Should there be people above him who are held to account? Yeah, maybe. Right, so 92% of people, 92, have said that Arne hasn't done enough to develop young players. Oliver said, Anfield was like a library when I went for Leeds. You could hear a pin drop at times. I was there for the United game. And it was hard for me to get a read on the situation. Excuse me, because we went behind after 63 seconds. So, yeah, it's hard to get a read on that situation, because if you go behind after a minute, it's going to be difficult to get that atmosphere where you want it to be. Now, we did get back into the game and get a draw, and I honestly thought at that point we'd kick on and win it, but we didn't. We still found a way to lose it. And that was off the back of a break where he had 2 weeks to set up for that game. So, will we make any first team signing in January? Is the question that I'd like you to finish up with for tonight's poll, if I can. Yeah. Does Arne throw another cup? I don't know, Sander. Look, we're guessing. We play Barnsley next Monday, and I've no idea what to expect in that. What 11 expect them to put out, but I know I expect us to win. Cop Wolf Gaming said, I mean, Arne Slot's attitude towards Liverpool, he's numb. I just don't vibe with a manager that doesn't show emotion. I just don't. I'm fully heart on the sleeve type of guy, but I understand that not all people are built the same. But I think at moments like this, when Liverpool are in, it needs inspiration, and I just don't see that he's the guy to give that inspiration. Nor do I think Virgil, like, I'm sure that they can say positive things. I'm sure that they can do certain things. But sometimes inspiration needs to be met with a little bit of fear as well of the circumstances, and a little bit of fear of the outcome if you don't get your finger out. And that's the side of it I think that both Virgil and Arne are lacking in. Is, yes, they might be inspiring. Yes, they might like have lovely technical things to say and talk about doing the right things and standards, but are they in there putting the fear of God into people sometimes? Are you going in there after losing the game shitting yourself at what the manager is about to send your way? Are you going to be held to account in front of people? These are all things that I think, whether we want to admit it or not, are really important in top level sport. And all players respond to different things, but it's up to the manager to know that as well. And again, I just don't see Arne going in there and holding people to account. You know, and the fight you did try to pick, he picks with Salah. Fair enough. Or you could say Salah picked with him. But even at that, it's all being left in an unfinished state, and, watch this space, more to come. Media not got the balls to call Arne's crap out. Yeah, I know. But anyone like me and others that do try to call it out, we're toxic, we're negative, we're fake fans, we're sensationalists, we're whatever. But again, I think people are figuring out now that the tide's more than turning, and people have just had enough and are fed up. And nobody takes any pleasure. I know loads of people who don't back this manager. I talk to people from different Liverpool podcasts and platforms, and none of them are happy. The ones I talk to. Now, I'm not saying there aren't people who are happy, because I'm not going to sit here and say I speak to every Liverpool podcaster and platform. But I know enough. And I know that they're feeling the same way we are. So I did promise somebody I'd fly through the news, so I'm going to do that momentarily. But before I do, I just want to fly through these super chats to say thank you to the people. Struggle getting enough mentally. Never mind watching this team. No effort. I'd rather watch paint dry. If we don't get Marc Guehi, we might as well pack it in. It is tough, isn't it? Wasted to go one when... And look, this isn't Arne Slot's fault, to be fair, or Liverpool's fault. But when people like yourself or myself or others have so much of our week built towards a Liverpool game and a result, and that it does have an impact on our well-being, whether rightly or wrongly, times like this makes it really more difficult. Times when it's good makes my life feel like I'm walking on clouds at times. That league title win was amazing. Summer transfer window was amazing. I felt like we were the most positive and upbeat as a fan base that I could remember in a very, very long time. And I'm still in shell shock as to how we've gotten from there to here this quickly. And how that's even possible. The real Johnny Sins Hate said, Arsenal can't open up and batter teams the way Man City can do. I ain't worried about Thursday, because our players are more than good enough to beat Arsenal. They just beat Villa 4-1, who went in an 11-game win streak, full of confidence. So to say that they can't open up and batter teams, well, respectfully, I would disagree. They've just done it to Villa 4-1. Now, I do agree that I don't think we're going to get battered on Thursday. I've said that at the very start of the stream tonight, and the prediction's out in 15 minutes, and I've walked through it in a bit more detail. But I mean, I wish I had your confidence that we'd win on Thursday, mate. I really don't. I hope I'm on here on Thursday night saying that the real Johnny Sins Hates was right and I was wrong, but I mean, mate, I just don't have confidence going into this one at all. I just finished the Tall Klopp documentary, and Slot is night and day. We really had a special manager and elite team. Makes you want Slot gone even more. I've watched the Anfield Rap Klopp documentary as well, which is a very well made piece of media from a very well run media outlet in the Anfield Rap. I've always said that about them. I know I'm not their cup of tea, and that's fair enough, but I think they do great work. And that documentary in particular was really, really good. But you're right, yeah, night and day, man. Night and day to where we are now. Sonder said, fluid manager role, all of us, we do better. Between us, we might be able to figure something out and get a tune out of the lads. Between us, all together. Right, couple of things, folks. If you can, please do hit that subscribe button for me. As you can see, we're 305 away from the next 1,000 target, which would be 368. Our dream, our goal is to be the first Liverpool channel to hit 1 million subscribers, a Liverpool fan channel, I should say, but we need your help to do it. So how can you do that? Well, spread the word far and wide. What I'd like you to do, if I could ask a personal favour, is I've no problem with people judging me from a clip, but if you are on a platform and somebody says that Anfield Agenda lad's an arsehole, which I'm sure you've all come across, just ask them to drop in and give us a half an hour of their time and ask them to watch. Because I've been met by a lot of people recently who've said, I thought you were an arsehole. But then I actually watched a few minutes and I thought, oh, okay, well, these moments I'm seeing him in are him at his highest or his lowest or whatever. So do spread the word, do help us out, because we want to try and make sure that a Liverpool channel, and I'm going to be selfish and say I want it to be us, of course I am. I want to get us to 1 million subscribers, because I think a club like ours should have a fan channel with 1 million subscribers. And if it's going to be somebody, why not be little old us? Tip Helper said, sack Slot now and bring in Stevie until the summer. Yeah, you've got my vote. And you could get Johnny Heidegger to come in with them. You could get Fowler maybe to come in with them. Dirk Cow could come in. There are options there. And don't forget, we've got Rob Page, former Welsh national team manager as well, who's working with the youth team. So this is what I'm saying, bro. I don't understand this narrative of keep them because there's nobody immediately available now who the club want. The damage is being done right now. If we can at least stop the damage, I'd call that a win. You know, if we can trend things in the right direction. So I'd be with you, but only till the end of the season. Craig, would you want Areola? I'll come back to that one, KB, in a minute, mate. One sec. He says philosophy hasn't changed. What has then? I don't know how we come... Like, he said his footballing philosophy hasn't changed. We as fans know that what we're looking at has changed. And I keep going back to Stargirl's very, very well-made point. Where's the manager that was supposed to be a mirror of Jurgen to some extent? That the stats and data pointed that wouldn't be a huge upheaval in style to bring him in. Where has that man gone? Because right now, we are night and day from the team that won the league and from the team that we want us to be, and we should be with the quality of players we have. So where was this question? I promise I'll get back to. Oh, Iriola. I've thought about this quite a bit, and now I would say the answer to the Iriola question is no, because we can't afford another roll of the dice coach. And it was discussed actually quite well by David Ornstein and David Ornstein and Miguel Delaney on back pages tonight last night, and they were talking about the idea of him moving into a bigger role at United or somebody else in the future. And I just don't think he's there yet. I think he needs one big job before a job like Liverpool, because his footballing philosophy is really good, but again, we're talking about one of the biggest clubs in the world here, and it does take a specific type of character to come in to do that. And Slot was the almost wild card pick after Jurgen and delivered us a league title, but, you know, you don't need me to say the rest after that. Tell us what Ian did. Who's Ian? I don't know what we're talking about here. Who's Ian? Right, I promised somebody I was going to go through the news. And by the way, as you guys can see, I'm keeping my New Year's resolution to you, which was that I'm not going to click on any of the deleted comments that the mods have removed that are there to try to bait me or make me angry. I haven't read a single one of them, so I'm doing my best to stick to my resolution. Right, so here's the news and a rundown like I promised. So we'll start off with Transfer News Live quoting David Ornstein and saying, Manchester City hold a strong and concrete interest in Marc Guehi. The move is driven by Josko Gvardiol's broken leg, ruling him out for 4 to 5 months. City are by no means Crystal Palace captain's only suitor, but whereas most of them plan to compete for his signing as a free agent in the summer, Pep Guardiola's side are weighing up whether to sign him in January. Next, Anfield Edition credited at Phil Sport, FIL Sport, and they said Liverpool are closely monitoring Toulouse centre-back Charlie Cresswell, who is valued at around 22 million. Now that's a name that might sound familiar to you because Charlie Cresswell was linked with us in the past. Tans Loic said Bradley Barcola will be a real topic next summer to leave Paris Saint-Germain. So, you know, whether Liverpool are involved or not, let's wait and see. But it seems like his exit from PSG could happen in the summer. James Pearce said Trey Neone is viewed as an important part of Arne Slot's plans. Yeah, cool. That's all I'm going to say to James Pearce stories these days, which is cool. Good man, James. And while we're at it, James, while we're talking about him being a huge part of, what about those with short memories and little patience who were calling for change have been muted as Arne Slot has breathed new life into a managerial reign that has veered so alarmingly off course? So that's my answer to anything James Pearce has to say these days is maybe stop towing the company line and start actually fucking telling it like it is, Jimmy, instead of, really highly regarded. Yeah, he's so highly regarded that he's getting fucking no minutes. That's how highly regarded he is. So then we had some of the piece from the Anfield Watch's explosive article last night talking about a potential civil war behind the scenes at Liverpool. They said the club's hierarchy made it clear they expect academy players to be integrated into the first team setup. Slot insists he needs players for the now and has little interest in working with the club's academy stars to try and develop them. In a stark contrast to Klopp, it created a civil war within the walls of the AXA training centre. Liverpool's academy staff and hierarchy have made numerous attempts to try and get Slot more involved with younger players. Anfield Watch understands the club tried to coordinate under-21 sessions to take place simultaneously with the first team last month, organised an academy showcase for Arne Slot and his coaching staff to have a look at the talents in the academy. Anfield Watch understands that while some first team coaches were present, Arne Slot did not attend the showcase himself. Hiring Brazilian Luis Fernando Lobel as an individual coach in the summer was also an attempt to compensate for Slot's reluctance to work with younger players. Lobel's role at the moment is concentrated on working with those young players instead of Arne Slot. But, James Pearce said that Slot rates trainee only highly, so nothing to worry about there. Jack Lusby has said, for what it's worth, Liverpool are baffled by today's claims of a civil war. Hope we see a lot more of RIO NGUMOHA this season, but Arne Slot is right that no player aged 17 or under has clocked more minutes in all competitions. I would argue that that's still bullshit, because it still hasn't been enough minutes and he still hasn't given them enough opportunities. Because what I would say to Mr. Jack Lusby is, with all due respect, Jack, RIO came on at Newcastle when we'd thrown away a lead against 10 men and had the courage and the skill to score a winner with class and with composure. And how did the manager reward that moment? By benching him non-stop after that and giving him garbage minutes. So if a manager really believed in the player, surely to God, that would be the launch point for that young player to start getting more minutes. Especially after we were told we weren't signing a Diaz replacement because we didn't want to block the pathway for young RIO NGUMOHA. Goes on to say, Jack Lusby said, however, this is Anfield understands. Sources close to the situation, i.e. somebody at the club has briefed them, are baffled by these reports. It can certainly be argued that NGUMOHA has not been used as many expected following his outstanding run of form in pre-season. That's because, that's the right answer, Jack, he has been underused. So Arne's cherry-picked stat doesn't tell the full picture. What tells the full picture is we sold the player, didn't replace them, didn't want to block the pathway for a really talented young kid who had a huge moment at the start of the year, had 5 games with goal assists in it in pre-season and has been absolutely blanked. That's the truth of it. So this piece here, I think from Sky, said Antoine Semenyo transferred to Man City. Antoine Semenyo is edging closer to signing for Manchester City after a deal in principle was agreed over his release clause of £65 million. The Bournemouth winger is set to play against Spurs on Wednesday, live on Sky Sports, which is expected to be his final game for the club, and then he will do his medical at City on Thursday. This piece here said Federico Chiesa is highly unlikely to leave Liverpool this month, according to Sky Sports. Napoli and Juventus are reportedly interested in loaning the Italian international, but have yet to formally approach the Reds about a move, and Liverpool are said to prefer that the player stays and would be open to a permanent exit. Liverpool would be open to a permanent exit. Former Manchester United chief scout Mick Brown, speaking to Football Insider, said this about Harvey Elliott. It looks almost certain now that he'll end up in the MLS. The lad has got to be playing football, and it's become very clear that's not going to happen at Aston Villa, despite what he might have hoped for when he joined. It's a real shame because he's a very talented player who probably would have been knocking on the door of the England squad if he was playing regularly. Even at Liverpool, he was a fringe player and was in and out of the team. But now, he's not even getting those sort of minutes. A move to the MLS is the only way for that to happen at the moment, so that's the best option. He can go out there for 6 months, focus on playing and impressing, and then assess the situation in the summer. Part of that, though, is there's no competitive games for Charlotte FC or the sides that have been linked with there till February, so still not ideal. On his Fozcast podcast, Ben Foster, talking about Jarrod Bowen, said he could honestly play for quite a lot of teams. He could play for Liverpool quite happily, and he would suit Liverpool down to the ground. You get 3 or 4 years out of him at the same level and intensity. The reason why he's always with England is he's always selected because he's a good lad, he does it properly, he works hard, and he's got real quality. Somebody would have him if he left West Ham, and he would make that team better. I don't care who it is. Fabrizio Romano has said Manchester City want to go all in on Marc Guehi immediately, but don't forget there are Liverpool and Bayern involved in the race over a potential free deal in the summer. So let's see if Liverpool could consider to anticipate the deal in January or not. Still no official bid to Palace, but for sure Liverpool are still in conversation with his agents, the same for Bayern. I think it's the height of stupidity that Liverpool aren't offering the money straight away to Palace. If there's any indication that Palace are open to selling him now, we are desperately in need of a centre-back. And this guy could be one that could give stability to our season. We should be banging down the door of Crystal Palace to try and get this guy in. We already know he's willing to come to Liverpool. He's had his medical. He's met the club staff. He's recorded his goodbye video before. What are we waiting for? Are we really that hard up for a few million quid that we're going to throw away half a season to try and get him on a free in the summer? Get your finger out and get him now. We need him. Former Club Bruges coach has said this about Joel Ordonez. If Bruges can get 49 million for Ordonez, they should sell him without hesitation. Nobody in Belgium is worth that much. Ordonez isn't ready for a club at this level. He needs guidance. And then we had the final bit of news of the evening, which was Ian Doyle of the Echo has said James Balgisi has become the third Liverpool player to be recalled from loan during the mid-season window after his time at Forest Green Rovers was cut short. Balgisi had agreed to spend the campaign on loan at the National League outfit after making the switch in the final week of the summer transfer window. So that is pretty much where we're at, ladies and gentlemen, for now. Where are we with this one? Craig, late night stream tomorrow. Much love. There's one in the books, yes, I think. Let me just double check my schedule. I have it on my calendar here, mate. 1 second. Yes, there is a stream schedule for tomorrow night. I might start at 9 o'clock, but we do have a stream schedule for tomorrow night. Yeah, sorry, I'm just reading through here. Cool. I'm also going to be recording with Lee Gunner this evening, and that's going to be coming out tomorrow afternoon as well. So do keep an eye out for that video. And the preview, well, it's out right now. So as soon as I finish up this stream, if you want to watch the Arsenal preview, it is going to be up on the channel. And again, let me know your thoughts on it if you watch it. Slot's acting like Jose on the back of Klopp's work, said Cop Wolf Gaming. I just, yeah, mate, look, I'm just fed up and tired of it all with the manager in this situation. I just want to get back to feeling positive and looking forward to Liverpool games instead of feeling like, you know, I don't know what to expect and how bad might this be. So look, folks, that's where we're at for now. Again, a massive thank you to our sponsors, Big Up. If you want to come across and join us, these are the questions that you can choose for the next Big Up entry for the Arsenal game. It's will Gyökeres score a goal or give an assist, yes or no? Will Odegaard score a goal or give an assist, yes or no? Arsenal to lead at half time, again, yes or no? There'll be 4 cards in the match or over 4 cards in the match, yes or no? Martinelli will score a goal or give an assist, yes or no? Bradley will get a yellow card, yes or no? And there will be over 2 goals in the match, yes or no? Over 18s only to enter. And again, thank you so much for your continued support and to everyone that has joined us over there for our predictions game on Big Up, right? Whew, lots gone through. Previews out now. Hope you enjoy it. Thank you all so much for being with us. If you can, hit that like button for me before you head off. Let's get the stream up to 1,000 likes. Appreciate you all. And yeah, much love. Let me know what you think of the predictions video when you get a chance to watch it. We'll talk soon.